program that helps you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
Good evening, dear viewer. Good to have your company. Thanks for staying with us. The national broadcaster coming to you live from Broadcast House, 9th Avenue. My name is Sandra Kahunde. Welcoming you on board for a great conversation. And I'm having great gentlemen in studio who are going to help me take you through that particular conversation. And it is to do with the role of mediation in alternative dispute resolution. And with me, I'm having His Worship Elias Chisauzi, the Registrar Mediation. And I'm also joined by His Worship Jameson Karemani, PRO Judiciary. They're here to take us through mediation, the importance and the benefits, and what really happens. When is it the right time for someone to have mediation? I know in most cases it happens to all of us in all aspects of life. You need to get on a round table, you need to get to have that dialogue going through, and you need to agree, you know, and meet on a certain ground and solve whichever particular issue you could be experiencing in life. They're joining me. Good to have your company. I'm in a company of gentlemen respecting the standard operating procedures. Good evening.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. I hope they are listeners. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good evening, our viewers. My name is Kariman, as said by the moderator, and I'm happy to be here to be talking about mediation.
Well, it's mediation. It cuts across, that is what I should say, for all age brackets, for all quite a number of issues that we all experience at one time when we are shut down, trying to be closed or trying to be at our own levels to try to work out something and find a solution. But in legal, I understand it could be differing. Should I start to the next? I start with the next on my left.
Well, mediation, as you have put it, is something which is common across the board, and there may not be so much structural differences from what the people conceive as mediation. Of course, it is a settlement where you have somebody who is a neutral person, who is coming in is a neutral third party who has no interest in the matter, and comes in and assists the parties to settle some conflicts, some dispute of some sort. And the role of the mediator then is to intervene and try to create a rapport between the two parties such that they can talk to one another with a view of solving the matter at stake. Could be a conflict of one set or the other. So the only difference is that we have private mediation and court-annexed mediation, maybe for what you called as from the legal sense. For us in the judiciary, we deal with largely court-annexed mediation. But we are aware that there is a lot of mediation, because almost you are Kahunde.
Yes.
Madam Kahunde, you do a lot of mediation at your place, at your home, and so many between children, between parties, and some people confide in you, and you sit in and resolve. So there is a lot of private mediation, and most of this mediation we find it in the churches, in the mosque, where the worshippers confide with the men of God, and when they have it could be marital, it could be some dispute of business and whatever, and but trusting the man of God, he sets in and he creates a kind of settlement.
To build a rapport.
Yeah, rapport. It creates a rapport. It's a communication. So in other words, when you talk about mediation, you are facilitating communication. It is a facilitated settlement by communication, and it is resolved. Or the mediator tries as much as he can to settle one way or the other. And there is always a finality, or it may be a decision which is final. It could be partial, some issues may not have been conclusively handled, and they may be requiring the judiciary or some other person to
Have you experienced moments, of course, a third party comes in, you're trying to mediate these people, maybe to get to a common ground, there's an issue in between. Have you experienced a time when both parties have failed to agree?
Yeah, actually, mediation is for willing parties. Because when we talk about mediation, the parties must be willing to sit
to get on the round table.
Otherwise, there are instances where the parties are not interested in mediation of one sort.
So it's never forced.
And you can't force mediation. So there must be the willingness of the parties to come to a kind of a rapport, a kind of sitting, and they agree. So mediation is for willing parties.
It's not a matter of accepting an order coming from court.
I know, and that's why you see in the recent amendment of the civil procedure rules. In the past, the mediation was mandatory for every case. Any civil case had to go through the process of compulsory mediation. But now, realizing because this was a pilot, realizing that not all cases were mediatable, and so sometimes you could waste a lot of time. So the civil procedure, the rules were amended to make mediation optional. In other words, it is optional. You can't force mediation. There are cases which cannot be mediated, where the parties are not willing to mediate.
Well, I believe you've handled quite a number of cases that get to your offices. Do you think it's a good idea that they made it optional?
Thank you very much, moderator. I'll begin by saying that you have cited there, it is an alternative dispute resolution. And of course, there are several alternatives to the traditional one. The traditional one is where people are used to come and spend years bringing witnesses, like wrestling in court.
That is like 10 years
the
ago?
Traditional one,
conventional one,
litigation.
That was 10 years back?
It is still there, but this one comes as an alternative. So you take a different route. Instead of taking the other one of where you will have to bring your witnesses, I bring mine, then the judicial officer decides by giving you a decision of what he feels is right. That is now a decision of the court. But this one now being alternative to the other one, you are helped to settle your dispute by a third party. So you were asking whether it's a good one. Yes, it has so many advantages compared to the other one where people come to court and spend years. And the first one is that it is quicker. You can have a dispute solved within 2 days.
Wow.
When people came to court.
Oh, even hours.
Even hours. They have.
It's a matter of agreeing.
Exactly. So they have agreed that someone should do. They are ready for that alternative. They are saying we can talk. So that person helps them to talk and agree within 2 hours. They are out of court. They have gone.
With the cases you've handled so far, should we say Uganda is at an alarming stage?
In terms of cases being many?
When it
of course, as a judiciary, we have been grumbling with what we call case backlog. Case backlog means a case has been in court for more than 2 years. So we have so many cases of that nature which have been in court for more than 2 years. So this is one of the innovations that the judiciary came up with to help us solve that problem of backlog. Can't we help people and solve their matter quickly than remaining in court for those years? So one of the advantages is that it makes the process quicker. People get out of court quickly. The other one is that it is cheap. Instead of people remaining, bringing lawyers and witnesses in court, in a few hours, like His Worship has cited, they are out of court. That means they are going to spend less money in that litigation because the matter is solved in a short time. They may not even sometimes need a lawyer. They will come and solve their matter and they get out of there. Of course, people who have solved their issue, they remain as friends because Some of these cases which come to court, they come to court when they were friends, but they have a dispute. Someone rents another money, and the person has not paid. They were friends when they were lending to each other. So, but now when you allow them to go to the other side, which I'm talking about, where the judge will come and read the judgment, one side will come out when he is happy with the judgment, another one is...
They will not see eye to eye.
They will not be seeing eye to eye.
They're going back to the same village.
Yes, in the future, sometime later, they might even attach someone's property who lost the case and they sell it. So they will not be seeing eye to eye. But this one, both of them have agreed and they have solved their matter. So they remain, that cohesion remains. They remain
the decision is theirs.
Is their decision.
Because it's not the decision of the mediator.
Exactly.
It is the parties that actually see it, but the role of the mediator is to assist them.
Yeah.
So in other words, we're getting to, like in this particular scenario, who is the mediator and what is their specific role?
Okay. The role of the mediator is to create the level ground, and of course to create that rapport, to facilitate communication, is a conveyor of information between the parties, because it can have caucuses like in a parliament, private meeting, and it can have where they have joint meetings and whatever. You can have, you know, when you have when you caucus, you get a lot of information. So when he's sitting down or he's doing his mediation or her mediation, he can have private meetings or joint meetings, but during that, there's a lot of information he exchanges. So he's the one who actually gets the information from this side and whatever, and the parties discuss and eventually they come to an agreement. So you see, with the mediation, the decision there, it is informal, and there are no those rules, those set rules that point of objection, that this is not admissible, and there is a lot of flexibility. So it's not like,
no formula.
There is one time when I handled a commercial dispute, you know, I work in the commercial court, and I went an extra mile. We even that case involved even it involved a business, a kiosk, a kind of business kiosk and whatever, with some millions of shillings. These were friends. They were not married as such, but they were just friends, and they were about almost to win. But they set up a joint business and a partnership, and they fell out. Then they wanted to split. So then they were even, because they were almost staying as husband and wife, there were domestic violence, cases reported, threatening violence, assaults and all that. So we finished the business dispute and went an extra mile to resolve even the criminal aspect of threatening violence, assault, which were in other courts. So there is which you cannot never find in the conventional judicial system, because now you can't handle two cases, criminal and the civil, at the same time. So they will tell you, finish this civil, then you go to the criminal, so you can finish from commercial, then they tell you go to Uganda Road or to go to Mukono. But all these I was able to handle in one place. Case of 300 million, and I also handled cases of assault at the same time. And the parties embraced one another, and they felt at ease, which you can never find in some of these conventional systems.
Well, I believe you have so many success stories out of this solution, amicably. At the end of the day, when parties do settle, what are some of those other benefits? Because I'm sure maybe someone out there will be having issues, and maybe they have cases in court, and they've been talked about the mediation, and they're like, I cannot, there's no way I'm going to sit looking at that person. You know, I cannot look straight into their eyes. At the end of the day, they totally denounce it. But I believe, since you've experienced all this, you could have registered some benefits out of mediation.
Of course, I had cited some of the benefits of this system, but the other one that I can talk about is the cost, both in terms of resources, money, and in terms of time. Now, resources, you can talk of money and you can even talk of human resource. We have always said we don't have enough judges. Now, if every case was being settled through mediation, if all the cases were settled, therefore we would need few judges now to be deployed, because cases would be finished quickly and in that cheap manner. Costs, people traveling, every time you travel to court from wherever you are is a cost. And some of those who have lawyers you are paying. So you find that it is costly. Now, we are talking about mediation. We have been talking about the one which is at court. Some people can mediate, like you said, in mosques where you have a dispute. Instead of coming to court, you decide to look for a third party to help you solve your matter. That person will be a mediator, because he will come between you and you will solve your matter. And therefore, you will not have paid fees. No fees paid there. You have solved your matter in a simple manner. And after that, you remain friends. Even when it comes to after you have agreed, enforcing what has come out. Let's say you have negotiated and the other party has agreed that I'm going to pay you, let's solve this matter. You were saying you wanted 15 million. Me, I'm ready to give you 13, and we finish the matter. You have agreed on 13. This person will very easily pay you that 13 million because he has agreed on it, compared to where you will come to court and the court says pay him 15. And
then you also have to pay the lawyer.
You go to the lawyer, you go to bailiffs, even bailiffs have to come in, advertising the property, all that. But this one where the person has willingly agreed with you, he will easily pay you than the other process. So that is, some of those benefits have to be looked at as something that we need to explore.
In other words, there is a finality of the decision. Once the decision is arrived at, it is not appealable. There is no appeal. The moment the mediation is properly conducted, you can't appeal. But in the conventional court system, there are so many levels of appeal, and like from the magistrate grade 1 up to the Supreme Court. And which may take several years. You have heard of cases spent in the court system for over decades. And part of the problem could be maybe the long appellate system within. But here in the mediation, the moment you reach a final decision, it is not appealable. Then the other aspect of privacy. Here, where in the mediation, it's only the parties concerned to the dispute of the company who actually are in the room, like this one. Yes. They are the only people who, because in other words, the mediation is private, it's not public, and we find so many matters, particularly domestic matters, family, marital matters, which may not necessarily require to be in public. And that's why you see they are being reported in the public and whatever. And these are matters where actually the people are embarrassed by the accusation, by the remarks, by the opposite parties and whatever. And these are matters which can be resolved by mediation. You sit and you caucus and find a solution, other than exposing some of the dirty linen in the eyes of the public.
I understand. And I believe the viewers watching us tonight also would agree with His Worship Chisauzi. Now, if you just joined us, you're watching a special edition, and our topic of discussion is to do with the role of mediation in alternative dispute resolution. We are live coming to you from Nile Broadcast House, Nile Avenue. My name is Sandra. I'm also joined by His Worship Jameson Karemani. Now, you've been talking about some of the cases that would require privacy, domestic issues. There are quite a number out there, and I believe one or two could have experienced one way or the other. Certain particular case might not be divorce, might not be maybe family issues, trying to distribute property of a beloved one who was passed on. There are quite many that we experience day by day. Maybe you've had a friend who has experienced it. Along the way, we find ourselves sharing and getting to know those particular cases. What are some of those cases that you can cite out that on a daily basis, at least you would encounter those ones coming to your offices that would require mediation, instead of going through the longer process and spending much more monies
Oh, of course, we have a number of them. Like mortgages, for instance, where banks or financial institutions lend out money. What is there to argue about? Of course, it's you walk to the bank, or the bank approaches you, and you are convinced, and you take out a loan and whatever, and you agree and whatever. So what is the, Sandra, what is the dispute about if you default? The only issues may be because of COVID, the business was affected and all these things. The business didn't work out as expected. But what kind of defense do you have? You took somebody money. As they say, civilized people, they honor their obligation. What is there to argue? The civilized people don't argue. They honor their obligation. So you have taken a loan. You have defaulted. You knew that you were under obligation to pay. What's there to argue? So these cases related to mortgages would be essentially be handled by mediation, because surely you don't have, because this is where even the banks actually are ever complaining and say, surely there's a lot of money which is given out and people are not paying, and there's a lot of time spent in the court. Why can't we actually transfer some of these cases to alternative dispute resolution mechanism, either arbitration, mediation, and all that, and we get a quick decision other than waiting for so long? Other cases maybe could be domestically related, like I have said. Divorces, because a lot goes. There's a lot we do in our homes which we don't want.
Yes, we don't
to be exposed. And when they say, so Sandra can do such a thing, or Karimani, the whole judicial officer, or me, can such a gentleman do all that? So some of these domestic matters may not necessarily need to be actually within the realm of the
vicinity of
yes, the court system. So we need to guard some of what we do, which we feel is private, because there's a lot and we enjoy that privacy under the Constitution. So surely would be embarrassed by being exposed in the public. So. And some cases of the children also would
to involve them.
Cases related to children, maybe maintenance, maybe custody, some related with custody, some, not all. Cases involving the welfare of children may also be handled by mediation.
Would you love to add on?
Of course, he has cited most of those examples, but like for example, why it is this mediation is more successful in the commercial court is because most of the cases there are commercial in nature. You supplied goods to a certain company. The company has not paid you. It means you have documents which prove that you supply the goods. They have not paid you. They could be having reasons. Maybe they have not yet. They have problems in the company. So you have sued them. Now, what is there that they are going to argue about that case? So what they can only say is to come to the table and say, yes, we know his money. We have issues, but we can pay him like this.
Or rescheduling.
So you agree, and the matter is solved. You only now set a way on how the other person is going to pay. Of course, there are some difficult cases where people, like in land is where mediation becomes a little bit hard. Although it is also there, someone has.
But at least you try to propose.
Exactly. Yeah. So someone can. There are some cases which have been resolved through mediation in the land as well. But in the commercial, because of its nature, the cases which go there, most of them are strict. You borrowed the money. The agreement is there. You have not paid. So what are you coming to say?
And you signed the document.
And you signed the documents. Of course, we have scenarios of people, yes, he knows he paid, he borrowed the money,
by
he has
mistake.
not paid. But some people, they just want to play wrong.
Worship, I have by mistake.
Some of them want to go into the other conventional way of litigation, the one of witnesses and all that, so, because they want to buy time. He knows he has no good case, but he just wants to buy time. They say that Ogusuzeo,
yes,
so he will decide that let me be moving on as I bring one witness, dodge to bring another one next week.
By the time the matter is resolved, at least I've arranged myself.
Exactly. So some people take that route not because they know they have a good case, but because they are buying time. But most of the cases in the commercial court are really strict. You have no way out. The best way is to say, let's talk. And in this mediation, you have a room. The room that you have is that you borrowed someone's money, 100 million. The interest has accumulated at 50 million, meaning you are supposed to be paying him 150 now. But through mediation, you can agree and say, yes, I agree it is 150 million that I am supposed to pay to you. Can we negotiate and you allow me, out of the interest reduce for me? I will pay you 130 and we settle this matter full. The other person also will look at, if I take the other route which is wrong, the money you are paid today is better than the money they will pay you next week.
Exactly.
So he will say, okay, he's willing to pay me 130, let me settle for that. The 20 million I might go for. And I get after 5 years, might no longer be as useful as what I have.
All the money is good.
Exactly. So mediation will help you.
By inflation.
Exactly. Or sometimes the money comes when God has already called you.
And money doesn't make noise. Now there are some terminologies that would let the viewer get to understand. There's mediation and then there's litigation. Is there any other alternative?
Well, you know, when we talk about mediation, of course, you have to talk. Mediation is a dispute resolution mechanism. All these, they are other related because we have arbitration. Of course, is also a means of settlement of a dispute. But this one is like you get somebody who is like a judge or somebody who has who is an expert in a certain field, could be an engineer, could be an accountant. He comes in and arbitrates or he settles the matter using the expertise he has. So you can have an arbitrator, you can have a conciliation. All these are modes, including mediation. All these are modes also of handling. The conciliator comes in also because conciliation is also part of the mediation. It comes in also as a neutral person and he assists these parties to resolve the conflict. But it is so technical in variation with the mediation. But for purposes of the viewers, it's part of the third party also coming in to resolve a dispute.
Yeah, maybe what I could add is that, of course, we have talked about the other
alternatives.
That is the litigation we are talking about. The litigation is that one where a case is in court. You bring your witnesses, I bring mine. You have lawyers, they argue.
You have the rules.
You have the rules to follow. Then at the end of the day, the person whom you are before, who is the judicial officer, that is the judge or the magistrate, will go and sit and write and say this one is right, this one is wrong. Now that is the other litigation we are talking about.
The decision is by the judge or the magistrate. But here in the mediation, the decision is by the parties.
Now, of course,
they control the system.
He has touched on the other alternatives. Mediation is one of them. We have conciliation. Conciliation also has a third party who will help you to come to an agreement. You reach a level where you have agreed. We have the arbitration. Now, the arbitration is a little bit strict because for it, it has the rules that you follow. You agree and say, we are going to get an arbitrator. You shall go before this arbitrator who will help us to come up with the decision. The decision here, the decision that is out is final. You cannot deviate from it. You only go to
implement
execute
execution.
it. Now, in mediation, the mediation side, the good thing is that I don't know whether it's the good thing or bad. Is that once you have agreed, when you have the outcome between the two of you, and you have come up with it, if it is in court, the same is taken for the judicial officer will also endorse in it after the mediator has signed and given kind of a report. The mediator will say, we went, this is what came out. If it fails, then you go back to the other side of litigation. You start the other side and continue with your bringing of the witnesses. That is the mediation, that is the arbitration, and we have talked about conciliation. Actually, the first one is about negotiation. Me and you, we have an issue. We don't even call anyone.
Behind closed doors.
You go and sit in a room, the two of you.
You give them a moment.
And you say, you know that you took my money. Yes, I know. Now, why are you not paying me? You know, COVID came in, blah, blah, but I'm willing to pay you. Can I give you a piece of land and we settle it? So the two are negotiating and they solve their dispute. Now, but the other one has a third party who will help you to come to a certain position and resolve your dispute.
Except I can add in, you can have a combination of these modes. You can have a combination of arbitration and mediation. The case can be arbitrated partly, and then the other aspect can also be resolved by mediation. So you can have a combination of the two. You can have a combination of litigation and mediation. You can start with the mediation, for instance. You iron out certain conflict, but then you remain with another dispute, and they say, this one we have not resolved, let's go to court, or it is left to the court. But it is a partial kind of settlement. So there is a remainder which may require a lot of evidence, which may require the judge to probe and investigate, and it is critiqued. So this is where some of these combinations can be done. You can have a combination of these modes of alternative dispute resolution.
Does it have types, or those are alternatives that fall under mediation itself?
No, they are as we said, that the dispute, you have a dispute, but it can be resolved by all what he has outlined: conciliation, arbitration, mediation, and all that.
Yes.
But it depends on the dispute, where you can say, now this one can be resolved by mediation or a combination. Like you can prescribe medicine and say, this one Panadol can do what, or paracetamol can do, or this chloroquine can do, and whatever, and you administer.
That's a good way of breaking it down. That's a good way.
There is something that you had asked, I think we didn't touch it. You had asked about the amendment.
Yes.
Where we had what we called mandatory. Whenever a case comes to court, it was mandatory that we must send it for mediation. Now, the rules were amended to make it optional. Or it was changed because we are like imposing, even people who cannot talk, we are sending them that you must go.
They are not willing.
They are not willing, right from the word go.
But
they are not
they
willing.
receive the notice.
But the law was telling them you must first go. Whether you are going to talk or not, but you must go there. And that was, we realized that was, in some cases, it was wasting time. That time they are taking there, doing nothing. It should now be utilized when they are doing their case
just
in the other conventional way.
Are there any other challenges that you've experienced, just like that one? Sitting them in one whole room and they don't want to respond.
Of course, we have challenges. One challenge we have, particularly embracing mediation. You know, mediation in this country seems to be something new, but it is globally, it is something we are
in other countries.
It is old, and even before we go to this conventional method, our great grandfathers were sitting under trees and resolving these matters by mediation and all this negotiation and what. So mediation is as old as man.
So I think we need to find out what really went wrong.
Even the Bible, I'm not very good at quoting the Bible, but even the Bible, it emphasizes mediation, that try as much as possible to resolve your dispute.
Exactly.
And don't go to the judge, because the judge would send you to jail. I think this is what John something.
Yes, it is there in the Bible that first solve your matter. If you don't,
yes, that's what the
call
Bible
in a brother, but don't go to the judge, because the judge might send
they
you.
will send you to jail.
To jail.
So and Islam also, the prophetic traditions and the Sunnahs and the Hadith, all these Prophet Muhammad was emphasizing mediation.
So what could have gone wrong between?
I think it is when we got this kind of the introduction of the colonial system
and the English
the one
law.
actually which maybe somehow suppressed some of our systems, but our systems were working very well, and but the other challenge I wanted to also to point out, many lawyers are not inclined. Some think or they have the perception that mediation is taking their cake, because for them they are so used to the other one, the chloroquine.
The longer process.
The longer process, the arbitration.
That will totally make you weak.
Many lawyers think they make a lot of money by litigation, which is not. We have experiences of some lawyers who have been against mediation, but after embracing it, they are getting a lot of money as a result of embracing mediation, because people are interested in the turnover. And along the way, people come to understand that Kalemani does not finish cases. So why are you wasting your time going to Kalemani? And the information flows. So eventually you find Kalemani will not have business. And the person who is actually having large turnover, who is resolving cases, is getting good money. So the way to go is by embracing mediation. Of course, we are not saying that the mediation is the cure of all these disputes and whatnot. The huge backlog we have cannot be resolved by all.
At least we need to have.
But we need to have litigation and other forms of resolving this question. That's the only way to go.
Before we let you go, our time is against us. With all the years of expertise that you have and the number of people that you've embraced and the cases you try to settle, what would be the solution, or what would you advise as someone out there who could be seated watching you and they're totally given up? They even fear to go to court, because when they think about court, they're thinking of the expenses, like you talked about the lawyers, and they're thinking of the longer process that they will take to settle whichever dispute they could be experiencing. What would be your word to them?
Maybe what we need as a judiciary, first of all, we have created the climate for mediation, a very good fertile ground for mediation, for them to come out and resolve their question, because it is part of our system. We need to educate it, sensitize them. Like we are coming now today to introduce a subject. But we need more programs of this nature and other programs, barazas and all that, such that they understand. We need to have mediators. We need to train mediators on how they are going to go. Not anybody can do mediation. Not everybody can become a mediator. And mediation is not for lawyers. The best mediators globally are not lawyers.
One should come to the right destination, which is the court.
Yes.
And
so we need to train the mediators. We need to sensitize the communities. We need also to train lawyers.
The lawyers themselves.
The lawyers themselves, yes, to embrace mediation and to see that we are not taking their cake, but we are trying to assist them.
There, I would totally agree with his worship. Maybe a word from you.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I would encourage our viewers to do is, first and foremost, try to settle your matters in your setup there. Don't rush to think of coming to courts, because like we have explained, we have challenges which might lead you to stay longer with us, and you also will not have, it will not leave you with cohesion that you could have in your societies. So try to explore the alternatives you have in your societies there. Try to, if you have a dispute, try to reach up to your religious leaders, let them try to help you to solve your matter. Reach out to your LC leaders, let them try to solve your matter. you only should come to us. You should only come to courts as a last resort.
Well, great words of encouragement and advice to the viewers been following this particular conversation on the role of mediation in alternative dispute resolution. Thank you so much, Your Worship.
It's been a pleasure being here. Hopefully, sometime we may come back and complete and inform the public of what are other forms and
other avenues, other products at court, not for them to shun away to come to court. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you all the best as we continue to fight the slow recovery with this post-COVID situation. To the viewer out there, keep watching UBC. Shortly, you're going to be having more news updates and news tonight, and Sharon Chomjisha will be joining you and giving you more of what is breaking news this very day, the 10th day of June 2022. My name is Sandra.
Fellow citizens, thank you for diligently and consistently honoring your tax obligations. It is through your collective contribution that the government is able to provide social services. In spite of the simultaneous global crises that have hit our livelihoods and businesses, you have proven that as a people, we can rise up and still mobilize domestic revenues enough to sustain us as a country. As we close in to the end of this financial year, I urge you not to lose the momentum and resilience that you have demonstrated all year through. Please file your returns and remit your taxes in time to avoid unnecessary inconveniences that come with non-compliance.